Hello everyone. Today we'll discuss about the topic fertilization. So what is fertilization? So as you can see, fertilization means the fusion of sperm cells nucleus with egg cell nucleus to produce zygote. So which brings about male and female gametes together, which produces a diploid zygote. And it also activates egg and triggering the beginning of the embryonic development. So these are the steps that takes place in fertilization. And the definition goes like this. It is a series of an event in which two cells whole or whose nucleus have undergone meiotic division and unite to free together to form a cell, or that is called a single zygote, or a single cell that is called as zygote. So now we will see what are the important characteristics of fertilization. So as you can see, that is mix up of the genes of two gametes, that is egg and sperm, has to take place. And fertilization, it is an instrumental procedure or producing new gene combination and gene dispersal in a population that has to take place. And fertilization is a process which include haploid male gamete, that is spermatozoa, which carries the parental genetic information and unites with the haploid female gamete, that is ovum, and even that also carries the genetic information to form a diploid zygote. So two haploid cells, that is sperm and egg, they together fuse together to form a diploid zygote. And ultimately these zygotes, they produce, which is a diploid multicellular organism further repeated on mitotic division and cellular differentiation. So now you can see what are the steps that happens during the fertilization. So those all steps, they come under mechanism of fertilization. First thing, that is encounter of spermatozoa and ova, that is mixing. Second, capacitation and contact. Third, acrosomal reaction and penetration. So acrosomal reaction, you already know the structure of a sperm where acrosome will be present and how the acrosome or the sperm, how it penetrate into the egg, and fusion of sperm with the egg, and at last the activation of the egg. So these all are the mechanism of fertilization which we'll be seeing later in detail. So this is the structure of sperm and ovum which you already studied. Okay, so next, the encounter of spermatozoa and ova. So what happens when sperm come in contact with egg? So during the fertile phase, the millions of sperm travel from the vagina, which is ejaculated into the vagina, to the uterus and into the fallopian tubules. So chemotaxis, so you already know what is chemotaxis. So the response with the help of chemical. So these sperm, they consist of the sperm and the vagina, they consist of chemicals. So when two chemicals, they contact with each other, so what happens, the chemical substance, they are found in cortex of egg. So when these chemicals, they come in contact with each other, then only the reaction takes place. So in general, the interaction is through special devices, that is particular in the form of behavior. So next, the primary need of fluid medium. So what happens, if the fluid medium is there, then only sperm tend to move inside the fallopian tubule. So later, the fertilization and delivery of the sperm into the egg at the right time. And there are two types of fertilization. Okay, so in detail, we need to study about types of fertilization. So there are two types of fertilization. One is external fertilization and internal fertilization. So we'll see what is external fertilization. So externally fertilization, by the name you can understand, it occurs outside the body of the female and increase the number of egg produced to ensure to survival of the species. So you might have seen fishes and frogs, they lay around thousands of eggs, but they may be surviving around in hundreds. So external fertilization, the number of egg producing will be maximum, but the survival ratio will be less. So what is external fertilization actually? So fertilization occur depending on the medium in the aquatic medium. So maybe it may be a salt water or fresh water. So depending on the aquatic medium, so outside the body. So what happens once the female lays the eggs, the male will come and ejaculate its sperms or deposits its sperms on the egg. So then the fertilization will takes place. So this is called as external fertilization. The aquatic medium for external fertilization may be placed either in seawater or in fresh water. So we'll see in two different phases, that is external fertilization in seawater. So what happens in seawater? Usually the sea urchins and different types of fishes, they are living in seawater. So this sea urchin, what it will do? So once it sexually matures, the adult sheds its egg and later the sperms will also come and deposit by the male. So once the adult member of the species usually becomes sexually, then only they are mature depending on the environmental temperature. So you know in seawater the maturation it takes place by depending on the environmental temperature. So eggs as well as sperms, they are spawned during the spawning period. Each organisms are having different spawning period. And these substance, what happens? Liberately they by oviduct during shedding of the egg ripes and other female as well as males. So once the eggs are laid, then only the males will come and fertilize it. So later combination of egg and sperm takes place, and at the same time mass fertilization occurs. So there is no what I can tell, there is no time, or every cell will be fertilized at the equal time. There is one cell will, or one cell is fertilized for one day, next will be hatched, not like that. So that is how they are mass fertilization. So here you need to know the importance of timing. That is first one, the extent of diffusion of sperm into the egg. So how much they can travel, what long distance. So that is one first criteria. Second criteria, limited life and feasibility because of the particular sperms. So you know as seawater is saline, the sperms may get ruptured. So due to that, the time life as well as the distance traveling, these two factors are very important. So this is about the external fertilization in seawater. Next, external fertilization in freshwater. So what happens in freshwater now? The time of spawning of egg sheds these the both eggs as well as sperms are shedded by both male and female respectively. Now at the crucial time or the specific time, the sperms remain inactive, but once they are active for very short time. So you should remember the sperms will be activated for very short time. So these are the two important steps that occurs in external fertilization, one in salt water and one more in fresh water. So next we'll see what is internal fertilization. So internal means what? Occurs inside the body of the female. Very few numbers of eggs will be produced. So there will be increase in parental care like mammals, reptiles and birds. What you can see, hardly one or two different types of organisms or the same, like which will be given by male and female of the parents will be produced. So that is how increased parental care will be seen, because there will be less number of the offspring. So in land animals and all, where eggs are completely enclosed in impermeable envelope, so that is they will be oviparous like reptiles and birds, but where they are retained with the maternal body throughout the development like oviviviparous, they won't lay eggs, or maybe viviparous also. The spermatozoa is injected into the body of the female by copulation, by copulatory mechanism. So what happens then? So fertilization occurs at lower part, that is in the oviduct. So upper part of the oviduct, what happens there? The reptiles, aves and mammals and ovarian follicles like viviparous fishes. So usually fertilization in lower part of the oviduct and upper part of the oviduct and in ovarian follicles. So this is about the internal fertilization, about the three different types of fertilization that occurs in different parts. So now on land terrestrial animals, these remain no problem because spawning of eggs, shedding of sperms, it will be common, stored in physiological medium, so maintaining their life as well as potentiality. So next, the deposition of egg and sperm in general vicinity each other within the liquid medium, like which you have seen in seawater and fresh water, in that case external fertilization. But when the fertilization site of deposition of a site, that is in fertilization, usually depending upon the active swimming, transportation, and one more is muscular contraction is very important, because the uterus, the muscles are very much stiff, the contraction has to take place so that sperm moves towards the egg, then only fertilization will takes place. So this is about internal fertilization and external fertilization.